Alrighty, so you've gone through and you've got yourself two of these support pieces ready to go. We're just going to focus on one of them at the moment. The very first step we want to come through and do is we want to countersink these holes. Now, what you can see with this screw right here is that it actually has an angle coming down here, a taper on the head. And what we want to come through and do is we want to make sure that this is going to sit flat. So we drill a bit of a divot into the top of this so that as this comes down, it sits flush. It gives it a nicer aesthetic. Now, to do that, we're going to need a drill, and we need a countersink bit, which is this bit right here. Now, if your drill has come through and got another bit in it, it's pretty simple. You're just going to grab the chuck, like so, and you're going to twist to the right, like that. Easy peasy. From there, you're going to get your countersink bit. You're going to fit it in there. Now, if the shank is either too large or too small, if it's too large, if this shank, which is this part of the bit right here, doesn't fit in the hole because it's too big, all you're going to do is twist this to the right, like so, and it's going to make a larger opening. Otherwise, twist it to the left, and it will fill in that space. And then you can come through and tighten that up, like so. Now we want to make sure that our drill is going forward. So to do that, you're going to make sure that your support piece here, or not your support piece, but your directional piece is pushed to the left so that it is going to come through and turn to the right. So just make sure that on your right hand here, it's pushed to the left. Another setting that drills have is they have a speed function. So here you've got 1, and then you've got a second speed, which is 2 here. Now, for what we're doing, we generally want it on 1. After you've done that, we're going to come through and using the line side, we're going to place the line side down and have that sitting nice and facing downwards. Because we're going to countersink the bottom, which has now become the top of your piece. To do this, we don't need to go overly far. You don't need to go overly fast either. Pull it on, pull down, trying to do your best to keep it nice and straight upright. After you've done both your pieces, it's very important to come through and we need to align this to the right side. And the right side is the right side for you. If you are left-handed, then you will align the piece to the right hand of your project, right-hand side of your project at the top, which would be the top here. If you are right-handed, you will go to the opposite side because ultimately you want to have whichever hand you're holding the saw in, you want to have that resting up with a backing piece underneath for the saw to cut into, so you're not slipping off and damaging your workbench. To do this, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to set it to the left-hand side. Once again, if you're left-handed, set it to the right-hand side. Now, when I say right-hand side, realize that this is at the top of the board here. The next thing you need to come through and do is you need to figure out which side has actually been cut by you. For example, this side has been cut by me cutting it myself. So that's going to go facing outwards. The reason we've done that is because this is a machine cut piece here, which means there's no human error in it. And so technically speaking, it should be at 90 degrees. For that, we're going to come through and we're going to set that up there. You're then going to flip this out like so, and you're going to get some PVA glue. Now, typically I use Titebond, but today I've got a Selleys PVA because it was readily available. You want to add a little bit of glue here. You actually don't need too much glue because it spreads out fairly thickly. Now, if you're in a school, it is recommended that you use a piece of timber to go through and spread the glue because realistically, sometimes you can have reactions to certain products. Because I am not at school, I'm going to use my finger because I find the finger works very effectively at getting it into the pores of the piece. From there, you're going to flip your piece back over, like so, aligning it where you'd like it to go. After you've done that, it's important to come through and we're going to clamp our piece down. Now I'm going to use the edge of the table here and an F-style clamp. In between the two holes, I'm going to come through, place that on the piece and bring that up and clamp that. Now, before I go ahead and screw them in, I want to make sure that it's exactly where I want it. So move it to align it where you want it, and you can do that clamp up a little bit tighter to make sure nothing's going to move during the glue up. From there, come through, change the countersink bit out for a driver bit, for a Phillips head driver bit. Making sure that it's still going forward, so this piece here needs to be pushed all the way to the left. After that, we want to come through and we want to set the tension here, so that as you're going through and tightening, it won't keep drilling through. Because what can happen is as this screw grabs the back of the timber on the other piece, it'll just keep pulling through until it either breaks the timber or you've got a huge hole in the top here. It looks really bad.
So to change the torque setting on your drill, grab the torque adjustment collar and twist it to 8. 8 should give you an appropriate amount of torque so that you don't screw through your entire project.
Screw in the hole. You will then place your hand on top of the back of the drill and screw down very slowly. Now the reason we're not going overly fast is because we don't need to, and because we've got a lot more control here. You're going to screw until it sits flush with the top. You'll then come through and you can do the same to the other end. Once again, going slow. Now, if I had gone faster, it is likely that this would have caught and tensioned out. However, I took it quite slow, so this fastening section here, or the tensioning, was purely as a safety feature. Go through and replicate on the other side. Congratulations, you just finished off the bench hook. As you can see, it's a super easy project, which does have some skills in it. The best thing about this thing is, after you've used and abused it, you can throw it out because you can make another one for about $3 to $4. Anyway, to keep growing your knowledge and skills, I'll see you in the next episode of the Woodwork Experience.